abuse of power, and impunity. Because as you perhaps you are following the National Assembly and the Public Account Committee with regards to the audit reports, since actually when I became responsible for the Public of Gambia, this was around 1999. When we took over, Gambia had not produced a financial statement for the previous 10 years actually. When we took over, when I took over the government. But largely since then, the reports that are coming out are not different. We have just here the recent report of the January 2024. The opinion was adverse. When they say the opinion adverse, it means it's bad. It's very bad. It means the issues are pervasive. That's what it means. It's the second to last of the reports that the can give. And these have been the case since, I think, 2001. Advice upon advice. Why is it not changing? Why are the reports not changing? Because there is no consequence for malpractices. There is no consequence for abuse of power. There is no consequence for TV. Nothing. Essentially, that's what one can interpret. Otherwise, if people know that once they do this, since they will be punished, they will take it. But nobody cares. Is going on. And people are worried too, it appears. How long will you continue to suffer these things? You have had the issue of audit opinions when the executive claim that it's just an opinion. Meaning it is the individual's opinion, the right, maybe the authority or whatever. Indeed, it is an opinion of the authority, but based on evidence. Because when the employee is putting down his opinion, he will give reasons why he is giving the type of opinion that he gave. He will list the reasons that is giving to the type of opinion that is like the judge at the court. That judge made his opinion. But based on the arguments, the defense and the prosecution provide. And of course, basing them on is the same as the doctor at the hospital, based on the diagnosis. Essentially, that's what the auditor does. In this case, it is figures of court. But it's never an individual opinion. It is an opinion, a scientific opinion of the team. And we all know what this corruption and this impunity does. What it does to the economy. It drives away investment. People don't want to invest in those countries. It creates inequalities, poverty, inequalities. That's why the discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots is getting wider. In the Uganda is growing at an alarming rate. Those who have continue to have more, and the poor people are also going and continue to get less. And our development priorities. And when I look at development projects, particularly road development, I look at them with suspicion. Because these are huge contracts, involving a lot of money. And the chances of kickbacks are very high in this type of contracts. We need to prioritize our development in key areas. I will say are the tripod, the agriculture, the education, and the health. If you don't get these things right, we only be here again all the time, but it's not going to work for us. We must get our agriculture right, our education right, and our health system right. This is why we have a healthy population and an educated one. Of course, in agriculture, we think about mechanization and so on. But our greatest disadvantage is the problem now really is lack of accountability. And the tone should be set at the top. That's the only way we can deal with this accountability. You can never, of course, eliminate it, but you have instruments that can mitigate these things. We have very good laws in our country. All that we need is to apply them accordingly. Our regulations, and we say that in terms of financial management, we have our financial regulations, our public financial acts and so on. We have them there, and they are very fine. And to counter this corruption, we have other laws that, in fact, for example, requires heads of departments and the executive, like the president and so on, to declare assets before they assume office. So that when they leave, we assess them against that what they submitted at the time. Of course, when they say you make an asset declaration, it will be verified. Once you declare, it will be verified to see that this is actually what you have. Then you will leave them, you check them again. And that will be a deterrent. Because when I go in with one car, if I am coming out with 3 cars, I have to have justification for having 3 cars. Where did I get the extra money to have the other cars, for example? But we know what we have there. So that is the problem. Yeah? And with our lawsuit, there should be a reform of our laws. Our judiciary needs reform, really. The Bible of cases, of course, we will not talk about, but we can talk about how to fast track, particularly economic crimes that affect the larger population. These are the things that I can think of in terms of accountability. Thank you very much.
A round of applause, please, for Mr. Ture. Thank you very much for the great insights. Great contribution to the topic. I think you will agree with me that both the panelists have invoked, the best that should be considered during these discussions. Honorable Sidi Ajata spoke about the value of knowledge. So important. You need to be aware, you need to be knowledgeable. Otherwise, where do you go? How do you even decide who to elect? Or how do you decide who your employees, as he puts it? And as Mr. Ture said, let it not just be because you like somebody's personality that you vote for them, or they give you anything, but on whether or not they are competent. Because they're the ones who are going to be ruling you. I use that word rule, exactly. And you end up not being the boss. We also heard about the implications. I wanted to know, Honorable, the implications burden. I mean, it's obvious, but how do we break the shackles? I just wanted you to, because we're about solutions also on this panel. We know the problems, we highlight them, but how do we get out? How do we see the trees in the woods on this? And when you're done, I just wanted, so I'm just monopolizing, being a dictator for once, monopolizing questions before I throw them to the floor. And for Mr. Ture, really, where is the problem? There's the accountability in our governance system leaves a lot to be desired. So where is the problem? The checks, the balances, the reporting, before we even come to prosecutions, because I know as a lawyer that if cases are not flagged and reported, there will not be investigations and there will not be charges, economic or otherwise. So I'll just go to Honorable first, and then we'll throw it to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think your question is very relevant because it has to do with independence too. An independent nation like ours who thinks that they can only survive by taking loans, I think that's the biggest mistake we will ever commit. This year, the amount of money which is going to be used to service our debt is more than the allocation to education, agriculture, and health. These three key institutions of the country. The allocation for their development is inferior to the amount of money we are going to pay, about 15.5 billion debt service this year. These three institutions' allocation is barely 10 billion. Agriculture is the pillar of this country, the economy of this country, but is now almost relegated by the government. Sapo is no longer working, Dahal is dead, agriculture in theory is there, in practice they are absent. And unless we develop the agricultural sector, and when you say agriculture, it's very large because fisheries is part of agriculture, forestry is part of agriculture, all these things are part of agriculture. Even if this government, from becoming independent in my terms, and according to law, 1970 we became independent, not 1965. Please take that seriously. Gambia never became independent in 1965. The Queen of England remained the head of state of this country up to 1970. No laws could be enacted here without her consent. She was in control of the country. It was in 1970 that stopped. Then we became independent. We had our first Gambian as president, and we are no longer answerable to the Queen of England, but to the president here. The president was answerable to the people of this country. So if you want to go out of this circle, it means that we have to engage the economy of this country properly. Because no government has ever engaged the economy of this country. Because it's so diverse and so huge. Only one sector, if they engage, let's say fisheries, if they engage only fisheries, Gambia will survive without loans. Only our sea resources can make us survive without loans. But now we have applicated that. In fact, we are depleting our resources to the detriment of the country. If it was the colonizers who made us to be cultivating groundnuts for their industries, well, here you see the fundamental problem is when we became independent, instead of becoming independent, we became dependent. Instead of changing the weapon that was used against us to suppress us, we continue to use the same weapon to suppress ourselves unconsciously. Because the system in place that they inherited was not meant for this country at all. It was meant for the outsiders, for their interests. So the whole agricultural system should have been overhauled in their terms in 1965. Since they said they became independent in 1965, agricultural system should have been overhauled in 1965. We should have stopped being producers of raw materials. We should start transforming our raw materials ourselves. It is not impossible, it is very possible. Ghana started that process long years ago. I went to school in Ghana, but they were processing all this. The textile industry is very, very well developed in Ghana. I don't know whether you know it. They have been into it since the 60s. So why is it possible? Why is it impossible for us? We started a cotton ginnery in Basse, and the cotton produce here was one of the best cottons in the whole world. Loans, the debt that we asked about, was the reason why it was divested to the French. And cotton production stopped completely. In fact, we could have continued only cotton production. Put aside, they can make produce for their own consumption. But But for cash, we could have continued with cotton production. We could have developed a textile industry in this country, one of the best textile industries in the world. But then no, and the same process is still on here. I don't know what terms they are using now. The bridge in Farafenni is rented. They call it rent. Recycle. Okay. For 25 years. And they are paying just just few $100 million. According to what I have heard from themselves, daily, what they can get from that from that bridge there, about $60,000 is daily. That's an underestimate. Let's accept it to be 60,000 daily. 60,000 daily multiplied by 30 days. That's how much? How many billion? 1 billion, 1.8 billion? And a whole year, how much? And if it is properly managed, it will be much more than that. Now we are now talking about the ports also. Something is happening there too. The ferries, something is also happening. In other words, all the income generating institutions of the country are being divested or handed over to the others for one reason or for the other. So where are we going to have our income?
Privatization.
Yes.
Is that the word?
Well, so where are we going to have income generation in this country anymore? So we are going to be totally dependent. In other words, what they are now doing is going to kill the country once and for all, because we have no more source of income generation. And so that will increase. It will not decrease, it will continue.
Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I answer the question of where the problem is in terms of accountability, let me address what the Honorable Celia has just said in terms of debt burden. It doesn't look good, really. The prospect of getting out of this debt cycle is it's not very bright, generally, because we don't have the way at all. How much of our development projects are funded by these loans? And as I said in my previous engagement, I said some of these loans that we take are not even productive. Roads don't bring money. Roads won't bring you money. Very little. And 2-3 years down the line, we are going to come back to this road for maintenance and repairs. We are going to get that money. Essentially, that we reprioritized our economy. We'll be in this debt trap for a very long time. Very long time, definitely. That's how I see it. We need a reset. And there's this a personal opinion. If you look at the political field too, it is not very encouraging. I would say to one of my colleagues that we need a transition, or we need a leader who will come and does not care whether he comes back for another 5 years. That's what we need, so that he helps us to reset. But any politician giving our client system, any politician that comes and want to come back, will continue to reap us, so that he go and fund his next 5-year business. Essentially, that is it. So we are not going to get out of this debt trap very easily. Let me come to accountability, where the problems are. It is, I think it is about lack of political will in terms of dealing with these accountability issues. Let me quote you when we had COVID not long before after Jam came, we had COVID, of course, and the National Audit Office carried out an audit on COVID cases, and the report was a disaster. It was a disaster. But what came out of that? Nothing. Not only the institution that carried out that fraud, but even the business people who took the money and refused to supply. Nothing happened to all of them. In fact, they are all running our streets now. Millions have gone down the drain. and nothing came out of it. This report was shared with the National Assembly. They sat over there and discussed it, and did not do anything. I've not heard of any. Maybe I haven't heard, and I don't think any of you would know anything about it. So it's about the political will to address the issue of accountability, to make sure that there are consequences. Because, like I said, we have good regulation. The laws are there to safeguard against these things. It is only not implemented. That is the problem.
Thank you very much. I open the floor. Can I be very strict to say 2 minutes each? Can we have a volunteer to take the mic around, please? Just say your name and.
My name is Mahmoud Bokar Simegajani. Basically, I spent most of my time out of the Gambia, so I'm just here to see what I can do to help. As far as the wealth of the country is concerned, I mean, my first question is that has the parliamentarians actually looked at the ilmenite that is being exported from the country and the nonsense that these people have said that it's valued at $34 per ton instead of the real value of $450 to $1,000 a ton. Secondly, as far as getting knowledge and so on is concerned, I think I've lost my cool a little bit when some people were saying that the educated were the ones causing the problems. But I think the Honorable will agree with me that when you say that people have to get educated to get the knowledge, and to look at the fact that the poor are selling their lands to go and marry another 4 or 5 wives, fill the compound with kids, and they've got nothing to feed them with, whilst the rich are getting smaller and smaller families. Is that part and parcel of the problems?
Okay, I will take a few others. No, it's okay. Just make a note of them, the questions. I will take 2 or 3, and then we'll take the answers.
Yes, for me, I just want to protest on our comrade. Yes, you are right. We haven't got independent because independence is about liberation. The mind must be liberated and the land must be liberated. So these 2 things are not there. This is why we call it neo-colonialism. I've said it before. Unless we liberate the land and the people, there is no independence. Because till now you have IMF and the World. When Kwame Nkrumah got independence, Ghana's first independence, he said Africa must be united. Ghana's independence is meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of Africa. The mind must be liberated, the land must be. This is why. Why maize? If you cultivate maize, you will have chicken feed and you will have animal feed. We could have done very well in poultry farming and animal husbandry. That one was a veterinary doctor, but he failed us. They still all our couple to the Europeans and to the South region. We could have done very well in rice production. Agriculture's problem is labor. We mobilize labor, not about machines. Our youth are sitting down without job. It's not about the machine, it's labor missing. Bring the farmers into cooperatives and mechanized agriculture. Then we can produce in large scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There's a gentleman there with the laptop. Yeah. He had his hand up. And then we'll take the answers.
Thank you.
Who else has that? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Modlam Demba, a final year political science student at the University of the Gambia. So I believe one of the key things that this person seeks to interrogate is political parties, polarization, and internal democracy. And I believe one of the fundamental things that Gambians fail to interrogate is the intra-party democracy in our democratic consolidation. How many political parties are adherent to democratic principles? How many political parties are adherent to the democratic consolidation trajectory that we aim to see? We have NPP, we have PDOIs, we have UDP and other political parties. And when you look at the issue of term limit, I will see that strong advocates are from the side of the opposition or political parties. But how many political parties have term limit in their internal governance to ensure that leaders do not abuse office when they get to national office? And I believe this is something that we really have to interrogate, because it is not a matter of national governance or the government adhering to democratic principle, while those that are advocating internally they do not follow those principles. In fact, it will be a contradiction for one who does not exhibit that internal principle within themselves to be at national level to say that government should adhere to this democratic principle. And the other question to Mr. Uncle Sidia
Your last question.
Yes, that will be my last question. Is the issue of independence. We were told that we got independent in 1965. And then from history, we are made to understand also that we actually gained our independence, or we became a republic on 24th April 1970. So celebrating independence in 1855, is it not a misunderstanding, or is it not a waste of resources for us to celebrate independence in 18 February instead of 24th April? Why are we celebrating independence in 18 February instead of 24th April? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'll give the panelists opportunity to respond.
Yes. On the issue of the minerals that are being mined in a particular area, there were three of them. Silicon is one of them too. I think, you see, the parliamentarians have the power to establish a commission and get an inquiry into that process. It should not be a problem for them because that's a fundamental right. The Constitution gives them power to do that. And if you don't do that, if they don't do it, it means that they are not interested in the Gambia, because Gambia is losing a lot of wealth there. I've never seen any estimates how much money is being earned from that sector. I've never seen it. And this has been mined since I was, ilmenite has been mined there since I was not born. Since the European colonization, up to now it's been mined there, and it's an expensive mineral. Added to it two others and no report on them. So I think it is up to the parliament. And that's why, we vote for people. We should always engage them when we have problems. We should, I would suggest that you go to MP or call your MP and ask him questions and make suggestions to him in that regard. We have to engage our MPs, otherwise they will not become effective. We should monitor them in Parliament. I was in Parliament, nobody was going there. In the beginning, 1997 to 90, the people were going there, but now nobody goes there. So parliamentarians speak to themselves. Sometimes I tell them that why are we talking here? We should not talk. Because we're talking to who? And then, and nobody is asking questions about that. Why is it that your parliament is speaking a language that people don't understand? Those who voted for them don't understand. That does not make sense. And we are not worried about that. It means that they can never be effective. They are doing what they know best. But if you have the capacity to monitor what they are saying, then parliament becomes effective. You can always say, no, what you have said there is not what we want. But even where you understand what they said, there is what you in. Nobody raises questions about this. That's the essence of representation. The person represent must be monitored and must always give reason for whatever he or she is doing. We are there to represent you, your interest. And that is why Parliament gives you authority to recall your MP if you feel that he or she is not representing you properly. Without even going for elections, you can recall your MPs. But how would you recall them if you don't know what they are doing? It's not possible. So for me, that is a very fundamental question. And I'm also interested. I know I'm going to engage our MPs. I'm going to ask them what is going to be their reaction. But unfortunately, one of them has traveled away. But when he comes back, I'm going to ask him. Maybe don't be surprised they are next sitting, they ask questions and they decide to form a commission for that purpose.
Go to the next question.
He was talking about
Political
yes,
parties.
IPC has proven to be an effective institution. That's inter-party committee, because at least they have been able to trust many issues without violence. And that's why it has been funded by some other donors because of the effectiveness that they have proven to do. So you're talking about contradictions. Well, I don't want to go and talk about political parties here because I don't want anybody to point to me that you are against my party, you are saying this against my party. But the problem is, if people are not really committed to what they are doing, if people are not doing what they are doing in the interest of all, the people they are supposed to serve, if they are not consciously committed to that, they can do anything. And that's what's happening in this country. Look at the two bills that came there, 2020 bill and 2024 bill. The grounds on which they were rejected, they are so flimsy, so useless. In another country, it would have amounted to recalling all your MPs back for having refused to enact the Constitution 2020 and the Constitution 2020. Some of those who were opposed said they were just revenging. Revenging who? You are supposed to do something in the interest of the country, say you are going to revenge. What? That's very flimsy. So that's why when we say election, you should look for people who are not going to be self-seeking. One of the reasons why in 1997, when they were, Constitution gave us power. Constitution gives Parliament to fix their own salaries. That doesn't mean that they say we want to be paid minimum at distance. No. They make a proposal to the executive. We make a proposal, this is what we want to be paid. And the executive makes a bill to that effect. It comes to Parliament. But when the bill came, the first bill came, it was $6,000 is monthly. They said 1997. I was the only one who opposed it. All of them unanimously, opposition ruling party, all of them said it was too small. And of course they won me, one against, 48. When they added 1,000, it became 7,000. That was our salary, 1997. And then when it came, I said, okay, so now this is my only people. I created a fund. Two-thirds of it went to the fund, one-third I used for petrol whenever I was going there. And the fund is still standing there. So the issue is that it is not an issue of contradiction, it is an issue of whether one is committed. Do we even understand why we are MPs? And do we even know what is the role of an MP? That's the question. If you don't know, then you will not be able to play the role of an MP. It's not easy to become. Work in Parliament is technically very difficult. Ask him. If you bring the auditor's report, it is highly technical. If you are not trained financially, you have to do a lot of thinking, you have to do a lot of reading to be able to deal with the issues raised in the auditor's report. And if you are not prepared to do that work, you just come and put it in your ears and then you forget it. When you come, you just sit down and then listen. When it is going time for vote, you say you vote. You agree or not agree. That's what's happening. So we have to change. There are many things that we have to change, and a lot depends on us, the electors. And some of you young people who always say you are not interested in politics. If you are not interested in politics, it means you are not interested in your life. Others will decide what is going to happen to your life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me first comment on the issue of eliminate, whether the national parliamentarians do investigating. What I know, eliminate is one of the revenue streams for the country, and it will have been in auditors' reports that goes to the National Assembly under the geology unit. Like you suspected, there are issues with it, and we have reported issues, particularly with the mining companies, on the reporting and of course failure to pay tax and so on. And royalties. We have reported those several times. But whether the parliamentarians understood, that's the issue now. To go and look at it deeper. Those are some of these, but this is reported annually. Because when we do the National Audit Office, do the public accounts, they look at everything, yeah. Everything that, particularly this that occurred during that year. So they report on these things. And most of the time, there are issues with them on the reporting, on the declarations, and so on. You know, with these products, that happens a lot. Somebody spoke about the World Bank and IMF. Sorry, World Bank and IMF. These Bretton Woods institutions are businesses. I think we need to understand that they are businesses, and they need recoup their investment with interest. They are businesses. This every year, coming year, it has a cost. Whatever it is, this is a business. I remember once, this was in relation with the central bank. Then I was in office, of course. I had issues with the team until they had to pay for my ticket to go to New York and meet the IMF. We had issues with them in terms of reporting. But they told me, first bank, look, we are putting money in your country. It is our investment, and we need to recover it. So we are not going to allow this to happen. If you can't do it, we are going to go to it. I will move to other countries. Essentially, that was it. They are businesses, and they want to make profit, and they will continue that way. That's what we need to understand generally.
I know we're almost out of time. There's two hands that were up from. Oh dear, there were two. Madi, do we have more time? I know I have. Okay, I'll give you first, and then the gentleman in blue. Can you limit, please, your contributions to just 2 minutes?
Yes, actually, make it short.
I don't want to cut anybody.
Madam Chair, just want to start off by saying that honestly, I feel that since going through what I have had since in the morning up to now, I feel highly satisfied that the forum has been quite informative and enlightening. And I would want to go on and suggest that, the organizers must do everything possible to make sure that, everything that has been said here is transmitted to the public out there. You can see, I'm sure a lot more people would have been here, but then maybe because of it's a working day and so on and so forth. But then I think they should make a special effort to make sure that what's been said here, the knowledge, the information, and so on and so forth, is disseminated as widely as possible for the benefit of the larger public out there. Because after all, the purpose of this forum is to to enlighten people, is it not so? To listen in the presentations and the discussions. And that is the role of what is whereby we will continue to be, well, you want to call it slavery in chain. And then, that's what's happening right up to right now. But then, you realize that, let me make this point. You realize that with all the educated people we have got in this country and in Africa, they have been trained in Western universities and so on and so on, even in the Soviet Union. But then they came back and they have not made that meaningful effort to bring rather, they have become part of that system. And then there's this aspect I feel has been missing in all the presentations. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Quickly, please, just.
Ma'am,
can you make it 1 minute?
Yes, just a quick one also.
Has somebody hijacked the mic?
Yes, something was made mention before Mr. Jatas came in. Yeah. That is the issue of having local languages in schools. Yes. And like you mentioned, at Parliament, we speak a language that many of us did not understand. So I just want you to relate the two. How relevant and important is having these languages taught in our schools now?
Thank you very much. I am Waka Sambu. Both the speakers mentioned that it has to take knowledge to get us to where we really want to go to. Honorable said when you want to control the world, you have to have the knowledge. And he said we have to fix our education system, our agriculture, and our health system if we want to go. So on that, I will speak on the aspect of education. That is where we'll have knowledge to be able to fix this country. But for me, I think our education system currently is kind of confusing us more than enlightening us so that we can be able to fix our problems. I said this because I'm in the First Republic, even though I'm too young to speak about that, but I understand at that time there may not be too many schools, but what is given to people is usually effective whatever level they, and even at primary 6, they can serve. But today is the opposite. Even if some people go to grade 12 or even at the university, they find it difficult to serve with that knowledge. In the Second Republic, there were too many schools built, but the quality of education was affected. We expect post 2017, all these problems are supposed to be fixed, but they are confusing us more. That is, we had Gambia College, but when the Second Republic came, they came up with the University of Gambia. Instead of upgrading the Gambia College to the National University, Gambia College abandoned. Now that National University, after almost 20 years, still is not an independent university that will be as expected competing with global universities. Now instead of upgrading the university, they are building more universities again, bringing Gambia College as a university of education. Instead of expanding University of the Gambia, Gambia College could have been College of Education on the University of the Gambia. GTI University, MDI University, this confusion, Honorable Jada. How do we fix our education system? Thank you.
Let me take him and then Imran, and that's it. Yeah, we're in the hands of the organizers. If we can take all of them, we will. But next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just quick, please, just make it
yes,
quick.
It's just a statement.
Yes.
My name is Philip A. Gomez from the National Council for Civic Education. Thank you, Mr. Ture. I quite agree with you that NCC needs to be independent. And I believe so, if that's happened, we'll be able to carry out our mandate effectively. But it's also very important to tell you that the council is working tirelessly. Right now we have an act that's sent to MOJ, but the act is still lying there. So our chief civic education officer will be going back and forth, going to the cabinet to see whether there's any progress or not. So I believe if the council is changed to a commission, will be independent in carrying out our functions effectively. Thank you.
Rest assured, I will be personally following that up. Okay, I'll be biased. I'll go to my learned friend, Mr. Imran Dabo, and then, sorry, there was, at the back.
Thank you, Madam President.
Just make a note of this.
I have questions that are a little bit similar, but for me, more around the structural issues. When Honorable Jata, you spoke about not understanding independence properly, and also spoke about knowledge. In terms of the independence aspect, in Farid Zakaria's book, The Future of Freedom, he says that democracy and rule of law cannot only be dependent on the good intentions of leaders. Right? And for our system, we inherited extractive institutions. And because of that, those leaders were the ones that were in charge. The citizenry really were subjects from before and continue to be subjects. And your colleague, your comrade, Honorable Salah, speaks a lot about sovereign citizenship. My question is, how do we create that? Because I don't think we have it now. How do we create that? Who is responsible for that? How does that happen? In terms of the education also, there's another scholar, a legal scholar that arrived, Duncan Kennedy, and he says that before we become lawyers, we have this zeal to protect society, to be champions of justice and all of that. He says the moment we enter law school, we are indoctrinated to be agents of the system. So we are taught to think like lawyers, not to think like the layman, and also to interpret law within certain defined paradigms and rules. And that makes us agents of the system instead of disruptors and reformers of the system. So in terms of education, we've all been going to school, as Mr. Sambo says, but epistemology, how does what we learn contribute to the system or disrupt the system? Are we taking education in the right way to disrupt that system that we have?
Thank you. Panelists, you just have to make a note of these while I take last two comments. Last two. Yes? Can you give the mic to him? Just make a note of comments.
Yeah, my question goes to Mr. Jata. I was asking if our economy can ever be stabilized after having one of our most reliant institutions, that is agri, now relying on the Europeans for grants and funds. Can our economy ever be stabilized?
Thank you. And last.
So actually, mine is not a question, but then as a young person who have been observing a lot of things when it comes to politics, especially in the Gambia, I feel like to hold our leaders to account is going to be very difficult because looking at our political affiliation as Gambians, our political rallies have turned into beefing sessions between political parties instead of telling the people what you're really going to do for them. So I think it is going to be very, very difficult for citizens to know who and who to put in that place to represent us. Because at the end of the day, they are not telling us that what they are going to do for us, but it's either this one telling us this is what the other political party is doing, like beefing each other. And I think it's going to be difficult to choose our leaders at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll have to respond very quickly. Are you ready? Yes. Just quickly, and then.
Thank you. A forum of this nature is so structured that if you give me 10 minutes, I have to make a choice. Otherwise, I will not be able to say anything.
I say that because we're out of time already.
So your questions are very pertinent, but I'll try and answer the question together with his. You see, what has happened in Africa generally, not only Gambia, you see, as independence, let's say the first generation politicians were so preoccupied with the issue of freedom, to get freedom from colonialism, that they forgot about other important matters. So when that independence came the way they thought it should come, their preoccupation was how do we run the country? So other matters suffered. In fact, more important matters suffered. I say one of the most important matter which should have been tackled by all of them was the issue of education. Why? Because when colonialism came, they established schools. First, they established schools for few. In Gambia, sons of chiefs. And that the objective was to get people who would become their clerks, their servants, who would help them manage the affairs of the country. So as independent, the first important issue to be addressed was issue of education. How do we run education? How do we decolonize education? Because education was colonized. Your language was never the language of instruction, which means that you and I were miseducated. They created difficulties for us to learn. Why? Any child who learns in a foreign language is learning terribly difficult, because language is rooted in culture. And if you learn a language without knowing the culture, it means even when we think you have learned it, you have not really learned, because here I see Gambians use certain words. In England, they don't use them. Because you don't know the culture has changed. And language changes with culture. That's why you have Old English, Middle English, and now you have this contemporary English. What is contemporary is in fact changing faster than sound. With this, all this media, you go to the media, you see how people are using language. What should have happened is what is happening now, 6 years after our so-called independence. The children are now going to begin to learn in their own language for a given period. ECD, now they will learn in their own language. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, every subject matter is going to be taught in the language itself, not English. English, in fact, should not be taught, will not be taught. They begin to teach English as subject towards the end of grade 3, because it becomes a subject of medium of instruction in grade 4, and then upward, up to the tertiary level. The essence of this is this. Learning in your language grounds you cognitively. Cognitively, you become grounded in such a way that you can learn anything in the world with ease without difficulty. I experienced it. I was fortunate that at my time, colonialists established 3 schools in the Gambia. One in Faraba, one in Bakadaj in Jimara, and one in Bajakunda in Wuli. And they were teaching only Mandinka. So we learned everything. For 2 years, we are learning everything in Mandinka. And I tell you, at the end of the second year, the school collapsed. I went back home and I was looking after my father's car for 2 solid years without going to school. You will not believe it, but this is the truth I'm telling you. Second year, my father sent me to St. George's School in Manchester. You know where they took me to? Standard 3. And I was better than everybody who was going continuously schooling. I'm not telling lies. I was better than everybody, not only there, but in the process, grade standard 6. When they gave them anything mathematics they could not do, the teacher would come and pick me up in standard 3 and I would go and do it for them. This is not a lie. And that's why the education officer, who was then a Tubab at the time, wanted to take me from standard 3 to go to Amitabha. Father refused to allow me to go. So learning in your language grounds you. It makes you become, your mind becomes so. It's like you cannot build a story building without foundation. No, can you build a story building, foundation and the wall all built at the same time? Is it possible? Those are the type of experiment they were doing here. They were trying to use mother tongue as a stepping stone to learn English better, and it isn't at the same time. One must be the ground for the other, the foundation for the other. And now that's what I have been fighting for this since 1979. And I'm happy that now there is a policy. We are now reviewing the materials that have been developed. We started the first 3 days now. From the 19th up to something, 20 something, we are going to review the material that they have already developed in these languages. Fula, Mandinka, Jola, Serel, Manjab, Sarahule, 7 of them.
We hope it will be popularized. We hope it will be explained. In the earlier panel, I remember the comment of if we make it compulsory for our children to learn all those languages, they'll be confused. I think somebody said it earlier. So I mean, I know. So he can clarify that. I'm not sure this is the right forum, though. I've opened another box. but it's something that we need to understand.
Is confusion. Yes. There is nothing confusing about it, and there is nothing difficult.
Will there be an option as to a language to choose, or would you have to do all of it?
Okay, let me tell you something. In 52 rather, UNESCO made a declaration that it is the right of every child in the world to begin formal education in the mother tongue. They call it mother tongue. But now we have changed it from mother tongue because technically, mother tongue does not coincide with the child's language. My mother was full of speaking, but my mother's language was not what I learned in school. I learned Mandinka, that's my father's language. So we call it L1. L1 is language 1, the child's language 1. If you go to Banjul, all those kids at Tobacco Road, they speak Wolof. I was teaching in Kampama school. The children there, they speak Wolof and not Mandinka. Most of them speak Wolof and not Mandinka. In fact, almost all of them. So if you are teaching these children, which language are you going to teach them? Wolof, not Mandinka. Mandinka is their L1. So they have already, not me, but the institution here, the education, the Curriculum Development Center here has done a language survey across the Gambia to determine the strength of each language demographically not only in the schools, but in the communities themselves. So when they say language 1 is going to be taught in Basse, for example, Sahule, you can teach only nothing like Sahule. All the Sahule speakers are based only 2 villages out of Luardi, which are Sahule, in Jala East, Medina, and this major one, Jalambere. These two big villages. So if you want to teach Arahulis their language, you must go to Basi. In other words, like we are saying, no one is going to force a Sarahuli speaker to learn Wolof or Mandinka. If he or she chooses to learn it, that is his freedom. Children will not be fettered, if a child chooses to learn any language, the child will be left to learn that language. So if you go to Fonyi Free, some may think that the most important language in Mayock is Wojola. No, it is Fula. Not only in the school, but in the community. Mayock, Fula is the most important language there. So if you are teaching children in Mayock, they are going to learn Fula and not Jola. So technically,
so basically, you will have a choice of one. That's what we want to know.
Yeah,
a
child can only learn one language as a start.
Dominant language.
The language which is known to the child and the community.
Yes.
Not the child alone. Let me emphasize, it's not only the child. The child's community language is the language that the child is going to be taught. Not the language, the child does not speak any language which is specific to him or her. It's a community language.
Yes, I think it's most of the questions, including mine, stem from ignorance of the whole thing. We know that it's
but
it's not quite.
Let me just say one thing and then you go. This is not specific to Africa. How many official languages are in Switzerland? 3. The 4th one is almost a dead language. They call it Romance language. When I was in university in Grenoble in 1976, my professor conducted research in Hungary. You know how many official languages were there? Originally 14. South Africa, the constitution guaranteed teaching and speaking 11 languages. That's what is in the constitution. So in the National Assembly, you are free to. In Senegal, the law does not say Wolof is a national language, but if you speak Mandinka, it's all accepted in the Senate. So there is no problem, but this is technical. Let's not get it, because you will not understand it properly. But if you are interested, really, find me at my office.
I think you've done a great job in breaking it down. At least we're much better than where we were. So can I come to you quickly? If you want to respond to some of the comments, if you remember them.
No, actually, I think largely it's centered around education. The other matter on this education system that is about the subjects that are offered. Because largely our education system is trains us to be clerks in office and so on. Now the issue of employment comes into effect. Because generally you hear people that I think Mr. Jata said it here. You go until perhaps after university and then you don't get employment. Perhaps, and it's your comment, perhaps it is time that we become discriminate kind of education system so that people are, I think that's why they are now introducing these STEM subjects in universities now to train people to do other things, because all of us cannot be teachers. I remember the accountancy program was introduced by myself and the then Accountant General Government at the university. We sponsored this to start. But eventually that it became saturated because there are other offices, small offices that can take accountancy profession. And now, if you don't perhaps leading to redundancy. How many accountants are the university producing? Academic accountants, which are not appropriate for actually accountancy jobs, and because they are academic. People, if you want to do accounts in office and you likely do professional, ACCS and AATs and so on. So probably we need to critically look at our education system, what we provide, and begin to do these STEM subjects more than the academic ones.
Thank you very much. I think my two panelists deserve an astounding round of applause, please. I think we agree that the session has been very, very engaging, very educative, and really on point, speaking very well to the topic. I just want to add